Hey y'all, just wanted to send an end of the year update, or I guess a recap of 2024. But this time, unlike last year I went month by month. This year I think I'm just gonna do focusing on the music stuff. Last year it made more sense to go month by month because we were following the progress of my basement renovation, but we didn't have any renovations like that this year. So, what happened this year? And to make it a little more holiday-like, I'll clutch my Charlie Red Christmas tree. Just make it a little bit more holiday-like. So I have my notes here to help me remember. This year was interesting. I went to my first Dueling Pianos event, and I think it's because I have some music history knowledge. I was expecting, more of like historical dueling piano situation. And the genre has evolved and changed quite a lot since then. So dueling pianos today are not the same thing as what they used to be. The way they are now is definitely not for me. It's not something that I would be interested in going to or that I would like enjoy a whole lot. But I'm glad I went. I'm glad I went. It was an experience for sure. But I did go to a dueling pianos thing. I can't recommend it, to be honest. Not a recommended activity, but that did happen this year. This year was the season of seven. I think actually it technically started last year, but the Greensboro Symphony Orchestra was looking for a new music director. And I actually went to almost all seven of the candidates' concerts. Almost. I had to miss the April concert because I was traveling, but I saw six out of the seven candidates. And real talk, my favorite pick didn't make it, but that candidate was my fave because of his programming choice. It was more something that I would be interested in going to, his choice. And I'm also like, his personality, because the candidates they don't all have to actually, but I think they all did. So maybe they all did have to, but they all spoke, addressed the audience. And so my fave did not make it, but I will say it was very obvious who the orchestra's favorite director was. Um, because I could sense it in that concert. I was like, oh, these guys really like this conductor. And sure enough, I'm sure the orchestra gets to vote, and Christopher Dragon is now the GSO's new director. Not to knock him at all, just didn't want to, but I just wanted to, be honest. Like he wasn't my fave, but I could sense that he was the orchestra's favorite. It was very clear that there was a lot of enthusiasm for him in the concert as it was happening. I really felt it. So that was something that happened this year, which was kind of neat. I heard Riley Bogus perform. He is I guess you would call him a banjo player. Um, and actually, I don't remember exactly what you would call his style. Old time banjo playing, maybe, or he, probably just does all kinds of that type of banjo folk performance. But I became a huge fan of him. And ever since actually it's kind of weird, but I've been searching for piano transcriptions of these like old-timey banjo pieces, and they don't exist, obviously, or maybe not so obviously, they don't exist. But now I'm kind of made it on my list of maybe things to do in the distant future is getting to know the repertory and transcribing some of this stuff for piano because I mean, I'm living in the thick of where this music, um, originates and where it really lives and thrives. And I'm digging it. I'm digging it, and I want to get into it through my own instrument, though I don't want to actually learn how to play the banjo, but maybe I can play some of it on the piano. So that happened this year. I got to hear Riley Boggs perform. This year also was when I got my piano regulated. I didn't get it fully regulated, but I got a day of regulation on it. Regulating your instrument is when the tuner comes in and really fine tunes the action parts. So my tuner focused on, I think it was replacing the pin. Oh, I don't know if it's called the pins actually, but it's I'm going to say replacing the pins, but I know there's other parts of the instrument that's called the pins. But it's just this part of this action that, he said would make the biggest bang for the buck. I think that's what he did. I want to say that's what he did, but he focused on certain elements of the action. So my action is running really, really nicely. It's not fully regulated at this stage, but I think in a couple of years I'll invest in another day of regulation, and I just want my instrument to be tip-top shape. It's pretty good, but I've played really amazingly well-maintained instruments before. So, once you've played instruments like that, you're just kind of craving it. And yeah, it was the first regulation of my instrument I think I can confidently say in a long time. It has not been regulated in a while. So that was exciting. And now it feels really nice. Not 100%, but definitely a huge improvement from before. And another big thing that happened this year was I went to I'm calling it the Ives conference. I think it was an Ives festival. It seemed more like a conference to me just because, yes, there were concerts, but it was interspersed with a lot of like lectures type of things, which to me that feels like a conference, but it was to celebrate Ives's 150th birth year, very close to his birthday, at least in his birth month. It happened in October. They did it over at Indiana University. An interesting choice. If you know anything about Ives, or if you know quite a bit about Ives, because I guess most people wouldn't necessarily know this, Ives's archives are at Yale University because that's where he went to school. And Yale did not host the Ives conference. It was at Indiana. The reason being, I think, because all the musicologists who have written anything about him, or there's just connections to Indiana University. Peter Burkholder, I don't know if I have to look into this, but he's written a lot about musicology anyway. And he was one of the people who organized the event. Um, and it was cool. I went and experienced it in person. And it was really cool to be there because I was in the same room and like really close proximity to some of these guys where you see their names on the books that you're reading, And you're just like, oh, there's this guy. And actually, I was sitting right behind Joel Sachs. I had never actually met him in person, but he had shared he so generously shared his research with me, and I shared my findings, my I guess my research on, I was focusing on Henry Cowell's work in piano pedagogy. And so I shared my stuff with him. And then because I shared my stuff with him, his definitive biography of Henry Cowell cites me as an expert on his work as a piano teacher. And that's pretty cool. But we had only ever just kind of mailed back and forth resources. And I realized it too late that I was literally sitting right behind him in a concert. And there was unfortunately no opportunity for me to like introduce myself. Not that I would expect him to remember me, but it would have been cool to actually speak because we hadn't done that. So I was, rubbing elbows with people like Joel Sachs, and it was really cool. So that was fun to go to. And then the last thing that I want to recount from this year happened fairly recently this month. I've been trying to prepare a audio recording, and I want to try to create a music video with that. but I was practicing wrong or yeah, not the best in not the best way. And I didn't realize this was happening because also one thing to keep in mind is I am I'm fully middle aged. And so my body's getting all these creaky things that I'm not used to. Like things just aren't functioning as well as they used to. And I was experiencing something. Let me actually put my Christmas tree down so I can demonstrate a little bit what I'm talking about. With my left hand, I was experiencing some funky things with my wrist for several weeks. Okay. So it's not something that came on really hard and fast, but I was feeling creakiness in my wrist. And it's probably a combination of, yes, I'm aging. And so, things are getting all creaky. But I think also I realized too late that I was practicing not with the best alignment and not with the best approach. I was creating tension where I didn't need to. So I had my first piano related injury at 41. I never actually hurt myself playing piano before until now. So now I'm actually in a little bit of it's been a week, so not super pain, but normal things where you need to rotate. Like I feel some soreness, and I'm still recovering. That means the recording process has been put on hold, but that was kind of interesting because when I was in school as a music major in college, a lot of people would have injuries, like they practice because you don't know how to practice properly, and maybe you're holding tension in way that you don't have to, and then you hurt yourself. But I don't, I just chalked it up to the fact that I didn't practice quite as much as everybody else because a lot of people were practicing maybe 6 to 8 hours a day. And I would usually max out at 4 hours. So I was like, I guess because I'm just not practicing crazy amounts like these other people. But what I realize now with this sudden first time injury later in my career as a pianist is that actually it's not necessarily that you're practicing too much. It's that like I said, your alignment, you're doing things that you don't need to be doing because mentally you're thinking it's supposed to be hard or it's supposed to be stretching yourself. And so you create that tension and that stretch that doesn't need to be there. And then if you're pushing yourself the way I was, because I was trying to get a nice, clean recording out of this piece, then things get bad. So first piano, but too much practicing, quote unquote, too much practicing injury. And I have to take some time to recover. That happened this year as well. Um, so quite a chock-a-block full year of stuff. I just wanted to focus on the music things. Certainly non-music things happened as well. But I like this exercise of at the end of the year going back and like looking at, to prepare for this, I looked at my calendar actually. And I also like to do logging. I don't really call it journaling. It's more logging, and sometimes it just becomes lists of things I need to get done. I try to do it regularly. It doesn't happen every single day, but I like to do that because I feel like I need something to help me keep track of the days because it's not helping a whole lot because I still am thinking, I still find myself on days thinking like, what day is it? Like in terms of the day of the week and also the number. I'm usually pretty good about the month, but like, is it the first of the month? So it's my way to try to kind of keep things organized. It's not been that successful, but I was referring to that. And it was nice to look back on the year because sometimes, because I'm kind of maybe too task oriented, I like it just feels good for me to get lots of things done. Sometimes you can kind of lose sight of how much you've actually done through the year because I was getting close to the end of the year. And because I was trying to get this recording in and I was really trying to get it in before the end of the year. And obviously I can't now. I need to give myself time to recover. I was feeling bummed about that, actually. I was just like, oh, I didn't get anything done this year. But then I looked back and I was like, actually, a lot of things happened this year. So so it's nice. It's nice to reflect on all the cool stuff that happened and the not so cool stuff. This thing that is so much better now, actually. The fact that I can like do this flailing business, I couldn't do that a week ago. A week ago, it was kind of like, ow, ow. So it's getting better. It's good. Well, I just wanted to put together this year in review in music for me. 2024 was an eventful year, a cool year, and just wanted to share it with you all. So I hope you all had a cool year too. And here's to a good year in 2025. Bye.